Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you want to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 31 of A Series of Death. Trembor called the gym as he settled in his office. He'd finally remembered why the hair had seemed familiar. It came to him as he left his gym and remembered a hair trying to enter. It hadn't been the only gym visited by one. Grabor's gym, the badger answered. Grabor Trembor. Question, the hare that showed up at your gym, he kept... You want his name, the male said with a chuckle. How? The lion hesitated. How do you know that? Marlot called earlier. The male's called Algarinam. Trembor wrote it down. Of course he did. Seemed to confirm the wolf wasn't in league with the hare, unless this was still part of his ploy, but Trembor had trouble convincing himself of that. Are you two working together again? Trembor bit back the angry response and forced a calm no. Thanks for the name. Then he disconnected. A search on the name, limiting it to the city, got a dozen results. Except for three, they were zebras who shared it as a family name. Another search informed him the name originated out of Pavoria, and that it translated to stripes. Of the three, two were of the except for three. Of the three, two were horses and one a tiger. No hares. Had he used a false name, or was he a traveler, a new resident who hadn't finished registering with the city? He brought up Jaxka's report on his open cases, both with broken necks. With both, the ID had been taken out, then returned. If he ignored the fight that had happened, both scenes had been immaculate. This led him to think they had been carefully planned, which gave the false name more weight. It would make sense. It would make it easier for him to go to the gym and what? Pick his prey? Had the two bodies been members of gyms? That was simple to check. He called up the places their ID had been scanned. Grabor was the exception, that he didn't require anyone to swipe in, but IDs were still used to pay for their membership, so another gym like his would be on the list. Arlan Shines was a member of a gym. He went there 3 times a week. Serious fighter, that male. A call told him no one working there remembered a hare showing up, and they had no one by the name Algarinam registered. It made sense. If the killer didn't want to be identified, he wouldn't go to a place that required swiping the ID in each time. As expected, the rhinoceros didn't frequent the gym. Prey didn't fight. As big as Roughskin had been, he was still prey. Something of a note did come up in the ID search. Roughskin was a member of a club called Reversal. It was flagged as being under watch by the enforcers with the tag of Deviant. He had to call Vice to find out what it was about. Reversal catered to predators who wanted to be treated as prey. It took all kind, Tremper decided, no matter how wrong it felt to him, and noted that as a place the hare could have encountered the rhino. Couldn't confirm it, because the club didn't divulge their client list, and Tremper couldn't show it mattered to the body he was investigating. He asked Vice, but they also had nothing. The reason they were watching the club was that Jaskin, the RI of the territory the club was in, had a few bodies that could be linked to the club. The current theory was that the club helped dispose of the bodies the play accidentally created when a member couldn't afford to pay. Why the club didn't pay for them to avoid the hassle of disposing them, then the possibility of being charged for being an accomplice to a tax evasion case, Tremper didn't know, but the people who engage in deviant society probably had more than just one thing wrong with them. He called the RI. R.I. Jaskin, a female answered, sounding tired. Last name? He hadn't known that. R.I. Goldenmane here. I have a question about the bodies you're investigating with a potential link to the Reversal Club. Go ahead, she said, sighing. He fought the urge to ask what was wrong. He didn't know the investigators, so he couldn't pry. What conditions were the body found in? I have one that was a member, and I'm trying to determine if his death has anything to do with the club. I'm not taking it, she snapped. My territory, my body, he replied defensively. Good. I have enough to deal with here. So the condition? Give me a second. By the time I got them, they were exposed to the element for a while, so there was decomp. No one's going to want to eat them by the time I'm done with them, if I can ever close those cases. What's the official cause of death? Varies. I have a ripped throat, a crushed torso, exsanguination, probably more. Broken neck? He asked, confident his body hadn't originated there. I have one of those, yes. If you think it's linked, call Vice. They have more information on this than I do at this point. Thanks. He could link the hair to both bodies if he accepted that he'd sneaked into an unnoticed that he'd sneak in unnoticed at a gym. Maybe he'd watched from the outside, and at reversal, the rhino would have been considered a predator. So what was that what the hare went after? This felt like he was dealing with a hunter, except he couldn't actually link the hare to the coyote, and he couldn't actually say the hare had killed the rhinoceros. There was no evidence on the body itself that couldn't be explained as fur flying during the fight. Hunters could be careful, but they left evidence they had been there. Expert claimed hunters wanted to be caught, that on some level they understood what they did was wrong and subconsciously left clues so they could be stopped. It had been how they'd finally caught Roxol. He'd left fur on every body, and eventually it had been enough to link all of them to him and work out the pattern. Trembor cursed. The except of Roxol led him to thinking of Marlot meeting him for the first time. The timid wolf looking out of place at the back of the crowd of our eyes. Trembor had wanted to comfort him right there. His pad buzzed, providing a welcome distraction until he saw the name, Herelex Goldenmane. He answered. For his nephew to use the bypass code, this couldn't be good. Herelex? Uncle Trembor? The young male sounded at the edge of panic. Dad's been arrested? By the other sound Trembor could hear, he thought his nephew was still at the academy. Why? I don't know. Dad called me in the middle of class and told me to get easy and go to Grandpa when we were done. I overheard one of his coworker argue with someone about the arrest, but Dad disconnected before I heard any detail. What am I supposed to do? I'm going to call Bay. She or her mate will pick you and Isenson up. Get your brother right now. If your advisor has a problem with it, have them call me. I'm going to find out what's going on with your father. A call to Beitil Adufin on his way to pick up their nephews. A second got him the precinct where his brother was headed to, but not the reason for the arrest. Even using his position as RI didn't give him an answer. That, more than anything else, had Trembor running out of the precinct to join his brother. And that concludes chapter 31 of A Series of Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the book, as well as the others in the series, they are available at all major e-retailers. If you want a different way to support me, that is on my Patreon, where you can also get access to just about everything I've written. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.